All right, gonna give this an audio check. Audio check. All right, audio check is fine. All right, shalom to the elect. You know, of course, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakodash, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai. Call on Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakodash. Praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh. He was only God's Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Spirit Holy. And of course, giving double honors to the elder apostles, elder bishops, the Connecticut elders, and elder bishops, Great Millstone, who well, since your Akim here at Great Millstone. All right, those that are of the hopefully elect and their collectivity. All right, and of course, shalom to those Aquathas out there that's listening and learning. All right, Shemel Mopman is a Mopper from the Great Millstone Plaintables Camp, Philadelphia, from another wee lesson. This is like a live stream, and currently being January the 24th, 2026. All right, and you got, you know, the year of you got sellouts, apostates, agents, and of course added Yaakov Tazarah, or Jacob Trouble. All right, and you know, prophecy is just continuing to kick. You know, one of the big things that's you know, going on right now while I'm indoors currently is due to the it's like a big snowstorm that's happening across the United States, especially you know here in the northeastern area. Okay, you got you know, it is back here in Philadelphia where I'm located. And what is that? And about like 10 to 12 inches or something like that. As we know, we don't know until, you know, it actually, you know, happens. So, you know, we just endure. But you know, it's talking about put this in the Google real quick. You know, you got a map, you know, that pretty much shows a big what is it? They call it a snow and winter storm, which threatens to bring snow and brutal cold this weekend. All right, it's Saturday right now, so called. All right, and you know, you got some areas that's going to see some extremely cold temps and stuff. Like right now, it's 18 degrees. You know, the double digits, but you know, on the lower end, I believe when I woke up it was like 8 degrees or something like that. So it's relatively cool. You know, more and in a sense, not what you really want. You know, you got you know, Oklahoma, Ohio, which you know, I don't want to rush this out. I can show y'all real quick on the screen. You know, you got the article, you know, things being said.
Stock up and fill up before the largest storm in years buries the region under snow and ice.
Well, I noticed there were no shopping carts when I walked into the store. That kind of scared me. I've never seen that happen before.
A crippling ice storm is the big concern. 18,000 utility workers were pre-positioned in the Carolinas, while at Tennessee's State Operations Center, officials will monitor road conditions in real time. Outside Oklahoma City, the State National Guard is on standby to help stranded drivers and passengers. The city and state have less than 100 plows for more than 1,800 miles of roads in the region.
There's gonna be people who end up stuck on a ditch, maybe even on the highway itself, just nowhere to go.
Yes, sir. Many people have to go back and forth to work, and they have no other option but to make that travel.
Keeping the roads and highways drivable, passable, that is one concern. Airlines, though, are also expecting major disruptions this weekend. Omar Villafranca is at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport.
We're here at the American Airlines Hub Control Facility at DFW Airport. This facility is staffed 24/7, and they're bringing in more people to help as the storm rolls in. From here, workers monitor everything, including the weather outside. More than 3,000 flights across the country have already been canceled through Saturday, including 2/3 of all flights here tomorrow. Some passengers are trying to get out while they still can.
So just be patient with the airlines, just work with them, know that they're also stressed because of all the weather.
While the threat of ice is causing cancellations and creating chaos here, they're already dealing with Arctic temperatures farther north. Jonah Kaplan has that story from Minneapolis.
Yeah, and that's just that right there. Okay. One moment. Yeah, so, you got that right now. You got a lot of things coming out also in the news, concerning the popsicle force too. Let me get a scripture real quick. I'm gonna go to the blue letter real quick. I think it's like Psalms 141 or something like that, if I can remember. So, the book of Psalms, chapter 147, and this is gonna be verse 15, right? Psalms 147 and 15, which that reads the following: He sendeth forth his commandment upon earth. Okay, you go into it in the Hebrew. You got Hashalach, all right, which is Ha is he, and Shalach is to send, all right. By Baryath, all right. He sendeth forth, right. Amar the Wa, which is Amar the Wa. In this case, Amar is going into like sayings or words, but this would be in the form of his commandments. All right. Going on, and it says Aratazah, which is the land. That's pretty much that, we got Eid Mahara, all right, which is Mahara Sakya, which is swiftly or quickly, all right. Also, it could be like Godspeed, right? Rataza the Barwa, all right. Which, if you want to see it real quick, I'll show you how that. This is for text. We are the Hebrew Israelites, so we give you some, we give you the Hebrew, all right. The original Paleo Hebrew, not the Yiddish, all right, but that pure Paleo Hebrew, all right, which I read that there. You can see it in the blue, all right. Now, let me see. Let me go back, sock. So let me cancel that. I don't know why it got so big. I don't want this view. All right, so we'll go again. I don't know why this view is like this. I don't know what happened. Let me see something if I can switch this up, because this done switched up and it's not how I want it to be viewed. Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, and it says he giveth snow like wool, he scattered the hoarfrost like ashes. Okay, and the Hebrew word for snow is shalag, all right, shalag, which is snow, all right, probably from its whiteness, all right, shalag, all right, snow, snowy colors, shalag, all right. So we have that there, okay. Ha, the thun, which is he, the thun is give, shalag, which is snow, all right. We're just gonna leave it right there. He sendeth out his word and melted them. Oh, sorry, let me go down to verse 17, and it says he casteth forth his ice like morsels, all right, who can stand before his cold? You know, our Quar should be, right? Quara, our Quar, all right? And, you know, Yahweh Shem Shai, you got, you know, record-breaking coldness, you know, hitting certain areas. You know, you go into, I'm going to go to Louisiana news, you know, something like the South. They close different places, and you have you know, like this is one of the South areas where I think they experiencing different things with the weather. All right, rain, bitter cold arrives on Sunday. All right. Louisiana government provides update on ice storm impacts. Okay. And you know, you have that. You have Florida. You know, weather. You know, I'm just checking out some different things. It's hot in Florida. You know, but you got like Texas. You know, I'm just looking at different things. Power outage in Central Texas. You know, as the Arctic blast brings some very wintry conditions to Texas. All right. So you have Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, at work. You know, Yahweh Shem Shai, Bashem Kokodesh is definitely at work, you know, in these times. And, you know, you'll be a fool not to regard, you know, these different things that are occurring right now. All right. And one of the scriptures that I think about, you know, is the book of I think it's either Esdras. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 9 and 6. I'll start at 5. It says, "For like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and an end, and the end is manifest." All right, it's clearly evident that we at the end. I mean, you got it where, you know, you got a popsicle force bringing forth mad force. All right, of the enemy. Now they bringing forth, you know, harassment, you know, judgments. Okay, and people don't even know what's going on. Okay, you got the draconian legislation that's playing itself out. You know, they talk about with the popsicle force. All right, the coal, all right, crew, they can enter your house without warrants, judicial warrants now. All right, or as they have put forth, you know, in the executive order and such. Okay, you can challenge it if you want, but you know they're doing what they want to do. They got a very high pursuit, you know, for also recruitment for newer, you know, agents and officers such to carry out, you know, the will, all right, of really the sword, which is Esau Edom. Okay, you got to understand that in this time it's the sword that Esau Edom, which is the wicked, that's being played out via, of course, you see like Donald Trump, individuals such as him, you know, that cruel Lord, you know, we believe that's written in Isaiah 19, okay, and 4, about how the Lord would, you know, we'll just bring it out, Isaiah 19 and 4, Isaiah 19 and 4, which it reads, it says, "And the Egyptians are you Americans, all right, that is, will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord." All right. Yahweh Shem Shai made those results play out how he played out. You know, they got, you know, the whole Democratic Party out, all right, and then brought in the Republican Party, all right, and, you know, Donald Trump went from 45 to 47, okay, and Biden was 46, but he's only bringing a fierce continuous of what they wanted him to bring, all right, with, okay, especially when it comes to the tribes and immigration policies that you know they got out there. Okay, you know you have it where you know the certain visas is they're freezed. Okay, you got like I said they you're doing all different things when concerning your benefits. All right, concerning all the different victuals you know that you get, and you know you have it where people are alarmed within these cities on their public safety. Okay, there's a lot of different things through this cruel Lord that you know, Yahweh Shem El Shai is bringing. You know, and it's he bringing you know a furbished and polished sword. Okay, it says, "And a fierce king shall rule over them," said the Lord Yahweh of hosts. Okay, and when you go into the word for fierce, you got eyes. Okay, eyes. When you see that in the Hebrew, it means strength. Okay, let me just go and check it. Okay, you got right there. So when you see eyes for fierce, I'm gonna click it, and you have eyes, which is strong, mighty. All right, fierce. Okay, and I mean, you see how you know Trump is coming. You know, he's coming with harsh, severe, all right, and fortified. Okay. So he done, you know, the executive order that showed you, hey, he removed, you know, and also, you know, I did the lesson real quick, you know, with the restoring the truth and sanity to American history. You know, he came up in the Philly, you know, at the what they call the old president's house, and they end up removing, you know, different things concerning slavery, you know, exhibits and such, and you know, a lot of people are just like, wow, you know, and it as it was going into, you know, it's because of the United States has been basically put in a negative light, which is really the Edomites have been put in a negative light. All right, and you know, they would like to pretty much rewrite history, you know, and foster a sense. Let me see. It say they want. It says that you know, having the slave history basically would disregard the progress that America has made and the ideals that continue to inspire millions around the globe. You know, but they want to circumvent or go around the fact that with the progression of America came to with the oppression of Israelites, Hebrew Israelites. Okay, because Hebrew Israelites had to work to build these countries, build these businesses, you know, to produce quotas, you know, for these industries. Okay, and you know, another thing, like a lot of Israelites are you know, angry, you know, as the scriptures do tell you, you know, in Ecclesiastes, you know, the 7th chapter, they tell you surely in 7, oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyed the heart. Okay, and you know, many of you know, the Israelites, you know, they you know, they're you know, they're pissed, you know, when you being constantly pressed over, you know, harassed, you know, they have got unjust gain and such, you know, off of your labor. That's disgusting, you know. And like again, they don't want to, as the scripture is going to give any account for your labors, for their labors for the Israelites. Okay. And you know, they want to rewrite who you actually are, your history, you know, and such, you know, which, you know, we go beyond just being, you know, subjugates to this captivity. You know, we actually are the founders of many of the great things which is put in use of today. Okay, many of the lights that you see, the fridges that cool and refrigerate foods that's delivered to you, down to the third rail, and with transportation. Okay, different like I said, we go into different technologies, GPS, the internet. Okay, hey, different foods. Agriculture. It's gonna be Israelites behind that, because as the scriptures go into, they say how Jacob. I think it's in Jeremiah. Just give me 1 second. This is right here. Damn, let me see. This is real quick. Jeremiah 10:16. It says the portion of Jacob is not like them. Yeah, not like the rest. All right, not like the heathen. All right, we got a heavenly portion. Okay. Portion chalach. That's what's prescribed to you. All right, that portion. All right, which is a chosen portion. All right. Scriptures talk about how Jacob was a plain man dwelling in the tents, but Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. But we had that smoothness, that seductiveness, that flattery. Okay. Why are we so charming? Why? You got some Israelites come in the room, like, I think like Ben Yum. I think about, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, all the tribes, They come up in the room and liven up the place, Somebody will go to someone's food eatery just for the fact of dealing with the spirit that's beyond even the food that the people cook. They might just want to hear the voice, of a Jake, which, I'm just going to go into smooth real quick. I'm going to look up smooth. Smooth. Having a uniform surface and not rough. You got also pleasant, polite, sincere, are true. Flattering, okay? Flattering is pleasing to the imagination, we hit them senses, all right? Why? Because we the salt of the earth, okay? But the portion of Jacob, or Yaquab, all right, his name was changed later to Israel, is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name, okay? Not like them. I could get Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 31. And, this goes back to Adam, which we come of Adam, but you have the chosen line, that the sons of God, which later is, the Israelites, okay, the Hebrew Israelites, okay. This is, I started Ezekiel chapter 31:7. It says, thus was he fair in his greatness, and the length of his branches, for his root was by great waters. The cedars in the garden of the Most High could not hide him, right? You got the other trees, which the trees, scripture talk about, I have seen men as trees, in that vision. Mark chapter 8:24, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. All right. You got different dark parables that's within Bar Ashiath or Genesis. Okay. Which are hard to be interpreted because, many of those people misinterpret it because they don't understand the scriptures. The scriptures talk about how the secrets are revealed to the Lord's servants, the prophets, in Amos, the 3rd chapter, around the 6th verse, if I'm not mistaken. It goes on. It says, and his bows were multiplied. Oh, Saki, let me go back. So, yeah. So this is verse 8. It says, the cedars of the garden of the Most High could not hide him. The fir trees were not like his bows. All right. And the chestnut trees were not like his branches, nor any tree in the garden of the Most High was like unto him and his beauty. Okay. I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden, all right, which this place was a paradise, all right, this earth, that were in the garden of the Most High envied him. Okay? So you have, obviously, the rest of the nations whom envy Jacob. Okay? And chiefly Esau, Edom. Okay? You got that song from that artist, Kendrick Lamar, which knows he's a Hebrew Israelite. Okay? A song called They Not Like Us or something like that. And these other nations, they not like, they're not beautiful. They're not as, have the greatness as us. All right? Gadol, which is greatness, going into the magnificence. All right? The magnitude. Jake makes an impact, all right, in the earth. All right? The Issacharite, you'll see an Issacharite, like I said, you see a so-called Mexican, which is Issachar, meaning he is hired. All right? You'll see them hit, a job cooking meals at a kitchen, pushing out volumes of food, all right? Per minute, per hour, okay? You'll see them on a job site, working, quicker, efficiently, more efficient, than other nations and such, okay? Working longer hours, etc. This is why a lot of other nations, and a lot of other nations know this, and that's why they utilize us in these different workforces, okay? When you really look at a lot of the workforce, the nation, like for the, the mediocre tasks, the repetitive, tasks, they got Israelites at that, being as a plow, man, workhorse, an ox out there, And Jake be killing it, man. Be smashing it, man. You got with these winter storms and stuff, you got Jake that's out there doing them, winter storms, whether they melanated or not. They out there running backhoes, they running out plows, salt plows, V-boxes, distributing the salt. Hey, even Jake getting on the entrepreneur side, teaching Jake how to hustle. How to take the salt and, distribute it to the community, by sale, by not having, E, they'll buy the stuff still somehow, being provided from E, but still be able to flip a dollar. I think that's great, entrepreneurship and such, belief, taking a leap of faith, taking money, and making more money out of it, And that's what, like I say, E don't want, us to do, to break the code, because that makes us, for the most part, escape the matrix, escape this confusion, which really that's through learning the truth of Yahweh Shemel Shai, because it's the truth that shall make you free. All right. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go back to something. Yeah, the Jeremiah chapter 10 and 16. Again, it says the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. All right, and former is Yatazar, which goes into the form, the fashion, the individuals at conception. All right, the original creation. All right, and going into the frame. You know, we set, like I say, these trends and stuff like that. But like I say, he'll take that and pervert it. Okay? And then you got now like people following, you know, stupid stuff that Jake is doing. Because, you know, the way of the wicked seduce, you know, Jake. And then Jake done sold out, you know. So, yeah, so there's another scripture that I was thinking about. I'm going to get, because of Adam come we all, you know, we get that in second edge of the 6th chapter. All right, I tell you, second edge of the 6th chapter. And it says, in verse 54, and it says, and after these, Adam, or Adama, all right, man of the ground, all right, also, which he was, the darkest, richest soil, you know, most fertile, okay, and fruitful, all right, not red and mineral, not lacking minerals and things of that sort, all right. Remember, Adam was perfect, okay. You know, before what? The fall. Okay, and knowing only goodness, the chosen. Alright? But it says, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, or creations, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. So you got a people of Adam, whom also the chosen came through. Okay? And the Adamites, right? All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake. Yeah, for the chosen, for the Israelites. Okay? You know, this world, all that's in it, like I said, is made for us. Okay, and it's just that he has his portion in it, and the Lord right now at this time allow him to get his little share. Okay? And he's been ruling. And like I said, he declared even the golden age, all right, through Donald Trump. Okay? And this MAGA, this magic, you know, ideology, all right, which basically put systematic, you know, Edomite, uplifting, supreme, taco, all right, taco supreme to the height. All right? And they're very angry. It says, as for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said they are nothing, but are like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So, you know, these heathen are nothing, okay? You know, Elam, which is the East Indians, they nothing, all right, through. Okay, you see them, like I said, you see how Elam will be doing nasty. You got whole YouTube channels where I think like Elam, you know, I put Elam, Indian food fails. I'm just gonna put food fails. All right, the nastiest compilation.
With YouTube
So give me a second of
Premium, watch ad-free videos. Listen ad-free on the YouTube Music app. That's right, one subscription.
yeah, so this fair use warning again. I'm gonna show you East Indians, which is Elam, all right? Which is what is it? Mean young in the Hebrew. Ayalam, which is let me see. I'll show you here real quick. They got that youthful look. They come out of the line of Shem, all right, which we come out of as well. And the children of Shem, Elam, all right, that's one. Ayalam, meaning it means young, all right, from Ilam, you know, but you know, they're not showing it here. Not sure if Beulah done changed it up, you know, but at least in here they ain't showing it. But yeah, they look young, beautiful. A lot of times you see Elamites, they look like youthful and such. The women, you know. But anyway, we'll go on right here for your lease warning. Yeah, copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, man. Allowance made for fair use for the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education. All right, this was for entertainment purposes. You got Indian street food or Elam street food. Okay, he took a can of Pepsi. He sprayed it all up in his face. He in a wife beater. Cracked the eggs, Coca-Cola in there. He boiled. I guess he spin it around. He ain't got no gloves or nothing. He done made some type of thing. All right, chopping things up. Fine, threw it in there. Like you got some type of goulash. Do some green chilies in there. Look at suspect. All right. Look at that cook thing. Got the leaf plate. Okay. Do it with his hands on there. And that's that. Okay. You got incense. You don't know you a witch or not. Yeah, man. Come on. Look, digging up in his hair. He done itched his head. He done went on there and then grabbed some cilantro or parsley and then added with whatever food. But whatever is in his head, his hairs is now in the food. So, you got that. And a lot of these Elamites, like I said, you got in the background, they prescribe to being, with Islam and stuff. Muslims, they got, different beliefs, but they'll be under that different belief, and then they still got these same customs. All right. You see them in the back breaking up some damn naan bread on the floor. All right, and just saying, oh, I put it in the tandoori, the oven, and it burns off all bacteria. You don't even know if he passed on the floor or not. So he mixing it up. You don't know if his palms are sweaty or not. And he wastes. Yeah, that's it. Then they took his money. Look at the state of his hands.
Food. I'm not going to be putting this in my mouth because that is guaranteed to make me very sick.
I don't know what that is. Like some pasta or something?
Wait a minute.
Sand or salt? I don't know what the hell this is.
Yummy.
I don't know what that is. I guess he used that to be able to expand or heat that up. I don't know what that is, but I guess he's supposed to heat it. He done bagged it up. He used the heat to seal it. And a lot of y'all food come from Pakistan and these different countries. Look. Let me show y'all something. Elon be making the food. Or snacks. Oh, I put snacks, not snakes. Snack. grind up a bunch of garbage and just here we go.
With YouTube Premium,
1 second, man. I guess this dude exposed it all day. His foot is stepping on those cones. Okay? His bare feet is stepping on cones and he moving away with his feet. So whatever foot fungus is now in the food.
That shit is so disrespectful.
You know? Dirty as hell. Yeah, that's the same boy. These same boys. Look, he's sweating out there. And then he just gonna package that up. Toenail fungus. Yeah, we on the same page. Look, he gonna package that up. And you wondering why you got that for so cheap. You know, these companies, they buy them for so cheap. And then, hey, this is the origins of it. So, like, when the scriptures tell us, you know, as well, how we eat our food, Ezekiel, the 4th chapter, it says here, verse 13, and Yahweh said, even shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I driven them. And we were driven to the Americas, all right, too, you know, in across the 4 winds, you know, and we would eat these to my, you know, a call, all right. You got to my, you have lacham in this case, all right. You got lacham there, so lacham, all right, which is bread, and there, lacham, lachamam, or lachamam, or lachama, you know, but lacham, which is bread, and there in a masculine plural, and you have tama, which is unclean, all right, or defiled, and that's ethically and religiously. You know, they pray over idols, different gods, you know, and bless it. And then this is the ice cream, you know. And Elon be behind all the, like, getting money, you know. Like, check a lot of them different businesses that most Jake go and frequent is owned by the heathen nations, okay? He got the whole thing, but then he sets it out where you can buy a franchise up for it, and they get them loans and such, and or have that money to be able to get that money, you know, for their families, and they live real good. All right, what nations own? What nations are nationalities own many popular food franchises in the United States? All right. You got Asian, all right, which that's just Eastern. Okay. You know, they're going to, you know, talk German, you know, Canadian, you know, but when you get up into it, you know, you got South African, you know, you got a lot, you know, of different, you know, fast food joints on. You know, you talk about here in Philadelphia, you know, pretty much what I've seen and observed in Philadelphia, Slovakia. In Philadelphia, most of the different places owned by the East Indians. You know, you go, you know, Muslim, you know, Arabs, Okay, invested in it and everything. E obviously got E. But yeah, man, and it'd be just like that, and they be treating Jake. They hired Jake, and they be exploiting Jake too. The scripture talk about how they have they have licked the source. The dogs. All right, this is Luke chapter 16 and 19. It says, and there was a certain man which was clothed. It's like there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple, being royal, and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which represented the nation of Israel. The rich man is Esau, which was laid at his gate full of sores. Okay, the scriptures go into how we are Isaiah, the first chapter, talk about how we were not mortified with, like this is Isaiah 1:6. Sorry, 1:5. It says, why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the head, from the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it. Our people be lacking in wisdom, knowledge, understanding. All right, of the scriptures. All right, lacking the Holy Spirit, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. All right. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mortified with ointment. All right, so you have it. Our people, will be destroyed. They're in this destroyed state. All right, as a besieged city. We've been trapped, taken over. And the heathen is having a field day with us. All right. And it says, so it says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, all right, which was laid, which I'm going to look that up, Lazarus, if I can find it. You got Allah Izar, right, which is God. Izar is help, our power help. All right. The Lord is with us. Okay. But going on, we've been given in the hand of the heathen. All right. It says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Esau started with the elite bankers, the Rothschild, the DuPonts, the different Rockefellers, the big major banking families, all right, going back to tiny tops. Moreover, the dogs, these other nations, came and licked his sores, okay? And the scriptures talk about how our Jerusalem, our Israel, trodden down, right? This is in Luke, Luke chapter 21, all right, and 24. It says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captives into all nations. Yeah, the Israelites, okay. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, the other nations, until the times of the Gentiles, the other nation, be fulfilled. Right, the rulership, okay. And the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai have them at the end of the rulership, the end of Esau's rulership, where the other nations have been, licking the sores and benefiting, off of, our us being in a as it goes into a degenerate state. All right. All right. So when you degenerate, you know, you decline from, you know, your original, you know, purpose. All right. I'm going to get this in the free dictionary. All right. This is the free dictionary. All right. Degenerate. All right. Having declined for as a function or nature from former or original state. You know, and hey, we as damn near heathen. All right. We recall it Gentiles too, you know, in the scriptures, falling away from law, statutes, commandments. All right, adopting these different customs, as you see. You know, you see like Skrilla is doing Hamitic witchcraft. You know, wicked left hand side witchcraft. All right, it says Jeremiah chapter 2 and 21. Yet I have planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? Okay. You know, when it says, you know, the Lord has separated himself from us, which he did by divorcing us. Okay. But we have been coming back through Yahweh Shai, who reconciled the relationship between the nation of Israel and Yahweh. Okay. Back to a harmonious state. Okay. So, you know, I don't know where that is in Jeremiah. It's somewhere in Jeremiah somewhere. All right, this is I'm gonna get this real quick. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 6. It says, "My people had been lost sheep. Their shepherds, you know, the various leaders, you know, they're supposed to give us the good teachings. All right, the understanding. All right, these churches, you know, they be religious leaders in communities and such. You know, if they don't got the understanding, they have, you know, help actually further you in being confused and destroyed and dry. It says, have caused them to go astray. You know, a lot of Jake believe in Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and, you know, though they may have had certain truths, you know, they perpetuated also big lies, and you know, they have been compromised, you know, and you know, Martin Luther King and, you know, Boule and, you know, different Masonry beliefs. Okay. It says they have turned them away on the mountains. All right, which mountains represent you know, countries, governments. Okay. You know, high governments, you know, which go back to mind control, in which, you know, we have been in various different captivities in various different nations and different countries. All right. They have gone from mountain to hell. All right. Hey, lower hills represent smaller, you know, different nations. Okay. You know, Jacob go from, you know, being in America, you know, where, you know, it's crazy. Like, you got everything here, and then he'll move over to the east and move to a small country. You know, he might move to Oman, and now he learning Islam crazy. You know, he might go to one of them, you know, Central, you know, Asian countries that do Islam, you know, or go anywhere, but then he's lost. Okay, he don't know who he is. He's been stripped from his nationality. They have forgotten their resting place, which would be Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, Yahweh Shai is our rest. You know, he's the Prince of Peace. Okay. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and 7, it says, and to you who are troubled, rest with us when the Lord Yahweh Shai shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels. All right. Scripture talk about the word being the rest. All right. my comfort in my affliction. All right. All right. Get that. Peace. You know, how do you think we're going to get peace? It's only through Yahweh Shem Shai. All right. So, you know, we could go into that, but I'm going to, you know, fast track it. All right. It says, all that found them have devoured them. Yeah. You know, these other nations, man. Matazah, find, means to find, right? And devour is a call to eat, all right? Of the oppression. The other nations, okay, Jake, you need a job at the dollar store. You need to work, you know, at a, you need a job. You need to work at the grocery store. You need to work, you know, this job because you got into the prison and the prison destroyed your record. You know, it puts you into obviously another form of slavery. Now you're out, and now you need employment, which is servitude, slavery. All right, employee means that, and we're your way. You know, the nations give you a job, and they just exploit you. You know, crazy, devoured. You know, and oppression. Okay, so like again, surely oppression make a wise man mad. Why? Because the other nations, they devour us. They eat us up. Okay, they consume us. All right. It says, and their adversaries said, we offend not. So again, even the other nations don't feel as if they're guilty. Okay, again, when you go back to this restoring truth and sanity to American history, you know, with them removing, you know, the exhibit of you know, the different slaves at the president's house, you know, that's a way of them, you going back into it, slop, I gotta get back to it. That's a way of them not saying that they have taken offense, or that's a way of them removing history and also saying, hey, rewriting it and saying, hey, we're not guilty of these different things. Hey, matter of fact, it's time to move on from that. And then let's just erase it, you know, altogether. You know, now it's just, you know, a wall, a wall with glue that was, you know, used to put the actual exhibit on the wall, but then it's going to get replaced by the glorification of Americans and conquests, you know, and how they have, you know, dominantly, okay, and conquered the whole earth, okay, but it's going to be projected in the life in which they want to tell the story of, all right? They don't want to tell the story how, you know, the Israelites built the country and, you know, all these different plantations, you know, these different mills and, you know, textile industries and, you know, everything, machinery and stuff. Jake was behind this stuff, man. They were the gears, all right? You know, Jake saying no to work can get him killed, you know, get him beat, lashes, okay? They don't want to show that. The punishments, putting Jake in a box, they can't see themselves. They got to shite on themselves. The teeth getting knocked out. Them feeding them slop. You know, the derby dose. You know, slave defecating in another slave's mouth and it being trapped in his mouth, you know, and him unable to, you know, get that unclean fecal matter out. Okay, unless Massa open up that and let it spit it out. You know, you got to think of that. Jake probably had to swallow shite, you know. Literally swallow fecal shit. All right, but, or tiat. So it says, all that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even the Lord Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. Okay, so, you know, a lot of the nations know, you know, too, also why we are in slavery. You know, they got to know, and have heard at some point the praise of the Lord. You know, when we left out of Egypt, the nations, had to see, So you go into, your Exodus, how he was led out of Egypt, and just real quick, some context. Exodus chapter 13 and 17. And it came to pass when Pharaoh, all right, which is of the Matazarium, which would be the Egyptians, which would be a Hamitic from Ham, or Ham, which means hot, so-called Africans. All right, one of the sons. It says, had let the people go, that Yahweh Shemashai, the power, led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For the Most High said, let peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. But Yahweh Shemashai led the people out, or Slaki. But the Most High led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, really going to the Gulf of Suez. And the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. Right? Right. Led by the pillar, the cloud by day, the pillar of fire at night, which is a Barakah or a chariot, so-called UFO. All right. Which was Yahweh Shai. All right. In the chariot, right? So, I'm going to keep going past. The meat. Okay. You have one of the first enemies when we left out. Right? Exodus 17 and 1. And all the congregations of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys, according to the commandment of Yahweh, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Okay? Now we're going to go down, and the Lord did miracles, allowing drink to be bust out of rock through Moses, all right? And he made sure he fed us too, manna, you go into it. But it says, this is Exodus 17 and 8. It says, then came Amalek and fought with Israel and repented them. Okay? And that'd be the tiny tops. Okay? Which got control of all of this. All right? That you see. All right? I'm Allah. Right? Which, go by grandson of Ishashua. All right? And they are all right, Edomites, okay? And you go into it, them tiny tops. Okay? So, the Lord got a controversy with them too. All right? The scriptures talk about this is Exodus chapter 17, 16. For he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. That war is still going on now. All right? But yeah, nations know of our, know of the fame. They heard of it. The nations know about us falling. When you be on the highways and hedges, on a lot of the nations, they'll look at us, and they look at us with, great, a lot of times very great disdain, contempt, because they know of that fame that the Lord has given us, even at this low state in which we're in. All right. Even at a higher state, like the other nations heard about Solomon, King Solomon. All right. When the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame or the name of Solomon concerning the name of Yahweh, she came to prove him with hard questions. Just going and showing you like how great of a people we are too. Okay, we're people. People here, ring bells. My name ring bells. Yahweh, that name ring bells, and his name is dreadful amongst the heathen. But these heathen, they be winning off of Jake. All right, and he is trying to do his ultimate win. We're trying to give Israelites the MOTB or the RFID C-HIP. Okay, that's one of the big things that with the whole biohacking, using cashless payments and stuff. This thing, like I say, is going to bring forth complete servitude for Jake when they accept it. The new answer for what cash fails at. With the debt notes. They need a way to know everything at every time. All of that is in the grand scheme of things. All right. So, we got to know what it is. So, that's in the spirit. I know we got this storm. I had to do a little, lesson in the spirit. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of other things, going on in the world. Like, look at this, man. King James right there. Right? The real King James, which we bring out the icons. King James the first of England, the sixth of Scotland, right? United the tribes of Jacob in the United Kingdom. All right, the Israelites, because the Israelites was ruling.
James the sixth and the first. He was a black man. Okay.
Which he was a steward. Right, King James Charles Stewart, which also means Stewart means black or dark skin. All right, when you go to that.
Now, you can go to the National Portrait Gallery and you'll see a white guy looking back at you. But those portraits were basically repainted. Okay,
That's the iconoclasm. You have it where the earth has been given in the hand of the wicked. All right. Remember, Jacob is the form of all things. All right. So the people that's going with, King James being weight, that that's a falsehood. Okay. Scotland itself just mean going back to Scotland, it just mean so-called black land. Okay. You got a lot of the history of Europe and the Dark Ages, right? With us ruling, all you have us ruling for that 1,000-year period. Okay, so you have it. I was looking for this is you read Job 9:24, basic scriptures. Right, which 9:24 reads, it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked Edomites. He covered the face of the judges thereof. If not, where or who is he? All right. The judges being the Israelites, starting with Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, Heavenly Father, there is only God's Son. All right, the angels, which we just not but angels in these chains of darkness, the flesh. All right, if not, where, who is he? All right. Or if not, where and who is he? Yeah. So who is the wicked? the wicked did this. You know, you put in King James right here. I'm just going to put King James. That's what comes up. All right. Edinburgh, them castles, that was all Jake Israelites. All right. Mary, Queen of Scots. You know, she was just, I think she liked the, I forget, damn, it's like something she used to do with her, either her hair, you know, wear wigs and things of that sort. But she was just like, you know, this is more, you know what I mean? You can see that nappy head, that nappy heat, you know, and then they you know, they done took, you know, things and changed it, you know. And you got, like I said, you have to go into, you know, you go to, like, they got some good YouTube pages where, you know, the other apostles already went into this, but the Russian icons, and, you know, you got you know, a lot of our a lot of the icons and the information, you know, the descriptions of a lot of so-called or a lot of these members, these people who are famous, William Shakespeare, you know, Middle Ages or Dark Ages, being what? Israelites, or so-called blacks. All right. Shit. And it's not gonna come up, you know, straight. You know, a lot of times you got to do your little digging and such. There's a page that, you know, I could go and show you. Even the brother from the camp, he got a page that he goes into it. Here's a good one right here. All right.
Elizabeth Stewart, which is his wife, right? Frederick V's wife, and their baby. What is she saying about her own baby? Listen to what she's about to say about her own baby. And this is, again, she communicated the intelligence to her father in the following letter. This is from her to her father, James I. And she starts with, I have now written to your majesty for a long time for one of a subject. Now I have to tell you with much regret of the loss of any lady of honor, Dudley, for she died of high fever in the confinement, all right, so on and so on. Now I want to show you what she says here. It says, the elector and my little black boy, all right, let me zoom in. So she's talking about her husband and her child, right, to her dad. It says, the elector and my little black boy are very well. Thank God.
Right, which you can see, black boy is right here. All right, if I could highlight it, it's right here. All right.
Whom I heartily commend you, I ever remain, sire, your most humble and obedient daughter and servant, Elizabeth. Okay, she's saying the elector, again, Frederick V, her and his kid is called the black baby. She's literally calling him the black baby. I'm going to show you there's more than one source in that they are talking about complexion.
Right, which, you know, that, you know, two witnesses. Be declared. What's that scripture? Dang, that's a heavy precept right there. See if I can find this, huh? This is Deuteronomy chapter 17:6. It says, at the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. All right. This is 1. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and 1. This is the third time I am coming to you. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. Okay? Simple as that. This is the third time I am coming to you. Every matter must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. So, just going and showing you, things. All right, remember the source being here. This YouTube page being KURIMIOAHAU. Gorimio Ahau. Pardon if I got the mispronunciation. Definitely subscribe, and get, the edification, chew out, get the meat, spit out the bones. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Get the, the truth. All right, Black or Europeans uncovered. Frederick V, Elizabeth Stewart, Peter the Great, East C.W. Kirkland. All right, that's the video here on YouTube. All right, and like I said, it cited a certain book, or publication, The Lives of Princesses of England from Norman Conquest.
Okay, being dark-skinned, why would they have a black baby if they ain't so-called black too? We already know his dad is brown complexion, right? We just read that. All right, now let's go to the next source. This is from the original. I'm going to show you guys an original letter that she literally hand wrote. This is letters to King James VI from the Queen, Prince Henry, Prince Charles, the Princess Elizabeth, and her husband Frederick, King of Bohemia, okay? Frederick V, right? And from their...
Look at that, man, by Mate Club in Glasgow. All right, I've been to Scotland too, so, I mean, prior to the truth, or even, yeah, I was about to move to Scotland and be living in out of Glasgow, had a was so-called engaged, to a so-called white woman, all right, but because you had also too with Jake, during the time also of the Dark Ages, we had concubines and such too, but the rulership, hey, Jake was there in Europe ruling, black. You go into the description of even Benjamin Franklin, all right, and a publication, all right. You think that just Jake was conquered and put into slavery, all right.
Their son, Prince Frederick Henry. Watch how he's described.
So that's why they envy us too.
From the originals in the Library of the Faculty of Advocates. Right, this is from the actual original. Right, so I'm going to show you. Let's check this out.
Straight.
So this is the actual letter. Let me just show you where it says it. I'm going to go down here.
Look at that beautiful writing. That cursive.
Here. Now it says here, where you see where it says black babies, it says, I will include, I would unsure your MF, the prince's health, and of the little black babies. The little black babies, plural, black babies who grow very well, and I beseech God that I may ever hear the happy news of your health, and which I pray that it may continue, and that it may ever be worthy of the title of Sir, your will and most humble servant Elizabeth. All right, so look, black babies. You guys see it right here? Let me zoom into it. Look, black babies. You see that? Little black babies. She's talking about her kids. Little black babies. All right, let's continue. Here's just a quick reference. Another one. This would be in a French, but this is from the Fortescue Papers, consisting chiefly of the letters relating to the state affairs collected by John Packer, secretary to George Villiers, Duke of Buckingham, edited by Samuel Rawson Gardner.
Nobility. Dang.
Gardner. From the Camden Society Collections, volume 21, I believe this. We go to page 37 of this book, and I just want to show you that on line 3 right here, It says, un bastante le petite black baby. You see that? Petite black baby in the third sentence?
Yep, right here. If you can see, right where the mouse is, hovering around. If you can see it. All right, le petite black baby, que or que. I'm not French, but
Right there, right at the end, black baby. It says here, her second child, Charles Lewis, who succeeded his father in electorate. The term black baby, black doll, was applied by Elizabeth also to her eldest child. Okay? Remember, she said black babies.
Remember the scriptures do talk about and we love going into this, man. And it gives us a lot of build up, like, confidence, too, which is we have the scriptures, but you have it. This is Jeremiah chapter 14 and 1. It says, the word of the Lord, how it came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. Judah mourneth, this is the point. Judah mourneth, so-called Negroes, right? The king of Judah, so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, all right? But Judah, all right, so-called Negroes, mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, right? You have it that our gates, our leadership, our sha'ir, all right? Going into your leaders, okay? Now, where you go into the city and the center of the cities, you got your leaders, all right? You got City Hall, you got dignitaries that be there and such. Official business is done there, all right? They languish, or maul, which means to be weakened, all right? It goes into to be weak, languish, all right? It's through, all right? It's like wiped away. It says they are black or dark skin, going into Quadar, unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. All right, one of the color scriptures. All right, we know that with Judah, Yahushua came out of Judah. So we know, as the scriptures say, for it's evident. All right, that's in Hebrews the 7th chapter or something like that. All right, Hebrews 7. Okay, and 14. For it's evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. All right, the description of Yahushua, Revelation, the revelation of Yahushua Mashiach, which the Most High gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. Okay, you got witnesses. All right. The angel, Yachanan, and Yachanan, hey. Lord never contradicts itself. Yes, you go into it, Yahushua, it says, in what, this is one of the, scriptures y'all would know from the Hebrew Israelites. If you don't know, now you will know. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and the girt with about the paps with the golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool. All right, his head, being you had his what? His fro, his head, white like wool with the wisdom. Okay. He was stressed out. He had like what they call gray hairs, right? As white as snow, and his eyes are as a flame of fire. All right, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, which that make them very dark skinned or very black, as they would go into. But remember, black, that's you got to today is a false social construct, and it has negative connotation, are going into it. Hey, we're very dark skinned. All right. You take brass and burn into a furnace, you know, you got a dark, dark thing. Okay. So, you know, that depiction of the Lord you see is Jesus, okay, which his true name is Yahweh Shai. When you see him looking with a lack of melanin and such, not fitting this description, that's not biblical. And that's a iconoclasm, a destruction of the images, all right, and also blasphemy or blasphemous and slander against the scriptures, all right. That was all a plot by the rulers that are in rulership right now, that took rulership from these people, all right? You know, and conquered and subjugated them and put them in the chains. And, you know, here we are now, you know? Thankfully, the Lord raised up, okay? The tents of Judah first, and you got men of the Lord that came up, learned of this truth, the revelation of Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, through Abba Vivens, you know, which is John or Elijah, John the Baptist or Elijah the prophet coming back in regeneration and turning the children back to their fathers, all right? All biblical prophecy, all right? So, you know, you can see it. He was very dark skinned, all right? So you can go to Song of Solomon, and they talk about how I am so-called black and comely and beautiful. All right, in Song of Solomon. All right? Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and 5. It says, I am black, all right, but comely. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Shalimah or Solomon. All right, Kedar is dark, you know, or Quadar in Hebrew. All right, dark. All right, so, you know, very dark skin. All right, you look at a lot of even the Ishmaelites be dark. But, you know, go back to Judah, you know, and its posterity, the fathers, you know, original, dark skin, man. King James, all right, rulers, the scriptures talk about in Genesis, the 49th chapter, how, this is Genesis 49 and 8. It says, Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Yeah, everybody, you know, blown away by what the so-called Negro, or African American, all right, black man could do, you know, and like we look at a lot of the top of the best, you know, you know, Michael Jordan, notably, you know, you can think, you know, just think of other individuals, you know, wrestlers, you know, athletes, even, you know, you got even famous minds, okay? Yeah, the other nations within our nations, or which would be the other tribes, or Shabbatim, all right, they would, they praise, you know, of you know, like everybody want to be like Mike, or, you know, like, you know, the different feats, you know, what they could do. All right, Judah, which is the head tribe, which Yahweh Shai came out of. All right. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. All right. So Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He is stooped down. He is crouched as a lion and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? And it's going to be the Lord through prophecy. Point. This is Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart, or the rulership, from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Okay? The gathering is due Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right? But you go into, hey, that real shit, hey, Judah. All right? So-called men of color ruling Europe.
All bunch of them, black babies, right? Now let's go to one of these babies. It says here in the collected papers, historical, literary, travel, and miscellaneous by Adolphus William Ward from 1921.
Put that sir on there. Sire.
We go to page 103, and this is actually in regards to the wife. So it says, Elizabeth Charlotte adds that there was a great likeness between the queen and her eldest son, of whom his early days she is found speaking to her father, King James, as her petite black baby, her little black baby, okay? Altogether, there can be no doubt that she was one of the dark ladies. Listen, she was one what? Of the dark ladies to whom Shakespeare has attributed so peculiar a fascination, and by whom God
Shakespeare was also dark-skinned.
Was so easily subdued. The other feature noticed by Elizabeth Charlotte,
William Shakespeare was dark-skinned too.
That feature in which physiognomus considered so much a character to be read was inherited by all those of her numerous children, with whose portraits I am acquainted, notably by Prince Rupert and by the Electress Sophia.
Yeah, that's another name you'll see. Rupert. You know, that name, Rupert. You know, you got Irish, that got that name. I think there's one chick, like, let me see, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I knew had that last name. Let me see something. Rupert. And she looked like a so-called white woman, but she was an Israelite foreigner. Having speckled bird, having the appearance, okay. But being Rupert, they show here is a German originated surname, but we know the Germans, back in, you have it with Israelites too. The true Germans, you going into, in the Middle Ages and such, and you could go into that, but slop, trying to, I got something mixed up, but yeah. But going on, you go into the, Prince Rupert, these different Electress Sophia, the different progenitors of our handover and sovereigns, having all power.
The progenitors of our Hanoverian sovereigns. If you don't understand what that's saying all her kids are dark complexion, including her dark ladies. She was one of them.
Now you don't have to just, like, a lot of people, they just say, oh, those are like, they could say these days, they'll say it's AI generated or some madness. Where did you get these from? They come out of different various historic museums and in a lot of places where they might not show or push to the general public, are really pushing the American media, but because it would destroy the lies that been told by the Edomites, all right, that he put about Jake just being, basically nothing, being that byword, which that was all biblical prophecy, okay. I was thinking about Isaiah the 25th chapter, and it talks about how in 7 it says, and he will destroy this mountain, this government being America, the covering fast, it's like a face it. Let me read that again. It's like detox. It says, and he will destroy in this mountain, or destruction, the face of the covering cast or the veil over all people, in the veil that is spread over all nations. All right, and the Lord gonna do that. He will swallow up death and victory, Yahweh Shai, and the Lord Yahweh will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. All right. And it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our power. We have waited for him, and he shall save us. This is the Lord Yahweh. We have waited for him, and we will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. All right. So, are we going to go into it more?
By her marriage when February 16 turned to the Elector Palatine Frederick V, that Elizabeth then, the only surviving daughter, and besides her brother Charles, the only surviving child of King James I, became a personage of high political importance in Europe. So we got a reference of her husband Frederick V being brown complexion, their babies being called black, right? Black babies. A lot of people saying they are, those features were, noted in their kids. And her, right, a dark lady, as I said here, dark lady. She was one of the dark ladies to whom Shakespeare had attributed peculiar fascination. That's her.
And then, you got poets, writers be blown away, by Jake. You might, you know what I mean? Sister might, man, you like, damn,
Now let's get another one about her son. It says here, writing women in Jacobean England.
Yeah, Jacobites. All right. Remember, the angelic sons of Isaac is dealing with us, the Hebrew Israelites. All right. The Anglo-Saxons. All right. Yes.
By Barbara Kiefer Lewalski from 1993. And of course, they're going to quote from the historical books. I just want to show you guys here.
So you got the sources too.
She explained this behavior later as stemming from uncertainty and inexperience, but it suggests real ambivalence about giving over the role of romance princess for that of mother, as was expected of her. The birth of the swarthy Frederick Henry. Look, this is Frederick's son. This is one of their black babies. Look, they even confirming that he's swarthy.
Having a dark complexion or color, swarthy. Dark hued or dark complexion. Understand it. All right. And like I say, you go into like a ruddy black or swarthy complexion. These are dealing with us having a healthful countenance, they because a lot of people don't understand words.
So-called black. Look, the birth of the swarthy Frederick Henry on January 2nd, 1614.
Jake was ruling.
It says here, mon petit black baby. All right. That's one of the black petite babies. You see it touched off joyful celebrations and tributes in both the Palatinate and England, okay? The whole family is so-called black. I hope you guys see that now. The whole family is being called so-called black. All right, we continue with the CW files. Shout out to CW. It says here, Thomas Butler, the 10th Earl of Ormond. Who is this guy? Thomas.
We could go into this in a whole lesson, man. It's just in the spirit. But you have the descriptions of these individuals do publications. So, if you don't trust the icons, you have actual written literature, about the Hebrew Israelites ruling. Okay? Check this out. History of Scotland. All right, publication from 21st of February, 1436 to March 1565, right? Which are contained accounts of many remarkable passages, although differing from our other historians, right? You got other historians that actually try to destroy history, and that's what you have with guys like, Donald Trump and other Edomites that, different painters, even being commissioned by Israelites to, draw certain, portraits, you know.
Okay, 1728.
Art of Da Vinci, the Renaissance, the Rebirth. You got to go into all that.
Again, this is the cover right here. The history of Scotland, so you guys can see the original. Actually, 1604. You see that? It's actually from 1604. All right, good thing we looked at the cover. 1604. That's how old it is. And I'm just going to read here. Okay, this is on page 25 of this book. It says here, in old times, Robert the Bruce. Remember who that is? That's the guy from the movie
King Robert the Bruce. You would know about history, Braveheart and all that. And I've been to one of the little statues. I would love to show y'all in the archive, but I can't. I had to, kind of show y'all that. I could see if I could. But I had to go. Like I said, I gotta go on my computer. But these are Jake's.
Braveheart, with Mel Gibson, Robert the Bruce, the leader of the Pictish groups.
Israelites.
Here, rebels, well, not rebels, they were fighting for their land, they were getting invaded. So Robert
Independence.
Bruce gave the earldom of Murray to his own sister's son, Sir Thomas Randall, so his nephew. So we're going to talk about his nephew, Sir Thomas Randall of Stratdown, knight. All right, a knight.
Yeah,
chief.
Knights, dark again. All right, like night, dark.
Of the clan Allen.
Head of the clan Allen. All right, that family.
All right, the chief of the clan Allen, all right, whose works can testify his life in the 14th book, rehearted before in this same history, and salient of him, and heirs of his body, that it should return again to the crown. This Thomas had 2 sons, but I cannot tell who was their mother. The eldest called Thomas, who succeeded to his father's place.
Twin.
The other called John, who without any succession of their bodies were both slain at the Battle of Daplin in Stratburn, fighting manfully to the death for the defense of this realm.
Right, but you know that, you have it, with Israelites are they have valor, all right, and might, men of valor. You go to even the manliness, even go back to virtue, all right. You can look up that. Talk about tribes and how they men of valor. All right. Amongst tribes. There's Judges 20 and 44. And there fell Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor. All right, you go into valor. Valor means chayal, which when you go into that word in Hebrew, chayal, it goes into like strength and efficiency, right? Might, even army, chayal, able, train, substance, strength, usually physical, And you know how Jake is. The scripture talk about how Jacob, with the Genesis chapter 25, how Jacob, this is Genesis 25 and 23. It talk about, and the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, being our foremother Rebecca, which is a so-called dark-skinned woman, Okay, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. All right, and Esau, as you do know, you know, he's weaker. Okay, he ain't no comparison to Jake. Let's go into it.
Invaded by the Englishmen, our old enemies. He also had two daughters, of whom the eldest was called Black Anne's. All right, his daughter, right? So Black Anne's, all right, by reason she was black skinned, they called her Black Anne's because she was black skinned. You guys see this, right?
There you go, them nicknames.
Let me zoom in in case you don't. Black skinned. This Anne was a woman of greater spirit than it became a woman to be, who was married upon Patrick, Earl of March. The second was called Gilles, and was married upon Jobu, brother to the Earl of March, and bore to him George, who succeeded. So check it out. So if she's Black Anne because of her black skin, right?
One of a greater spirit, then it become a woman to be. You know? You got some women, like I said, they got faith and stuff. You know? And you got in these days, you're gonna have a lot of holy women that emerge that are actually elect. Which go back to the original posterity. You know, they just came back in a regeneration to, be delivered. At this time, at the end. Okay, and you just go. You would just go to like, let me see if I can find this. I think in the Maccabees. I would have to find that. Have a stomach, and then I would have to find it. It's the second Maccabees 7:21. Yeah. This is one. You go into this account, all right, with 7 brethren with their mother, all right, that were taken and were compelled to basically eat pork. All right, you go into this history. All right, you second Maccabees 7th chapter, and it came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, pork, and were tormented with scourge and whips. But one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. So even in us, you have men of faith that believed in the law, statutes, commandments, and even women that believed as well. All right, and would not forsake the belief in Yahweh Shem Shai, and not to transgress his laws, even if it comes to death. All right, and that same spirit is coming back, or is here too. All right, with the elect remnant that stands so stiffly for the word of the Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, so I'm just gonna bring this real quick. Talk about, in that account about this particular Black Anne being black skin or dark skin, and this Anne was a woman of greater spirit than it become a woman to be. And you know how women, we really got it, like the virtue. They be lacking virtue, but you have some women that the Lord have them with faith, and that have them follow the upright, and have high conduct, moral conduct to do what's right, all right, which is established by men. Okay, and that's very different ways you can easily prove that, you know, yeah, Titus, real quick. It talk about women. I gotta find it. It's in Titus or Corinthians. Or I think it's in Timothy or Titus. Let me see. Right. But this Titus chapter 2 and 1. It says, "But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith and charity and patience. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh God, becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to too much wine, teachers of good things, that they might teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children." All right. I'm just going and showing you some history, all right? The women supposed to be modeling the image of holy men, okay? And holy men have virtue, and they have integrity, and they have a high moral character by following the chakim, the statutes, laws, the Torah, the law, statutes, commandments, all right? So, just real quick, 2 Maccabees 7, and that was 7. It says, "So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stalk. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, Wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?" All right. I gotta go to the account with the mum. All right. It's here. "Then the king, being enraged, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot, which fourth being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. Now when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and be fried in the pan. And the vapor of the pan was a good space dispersed. They exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus." Okay. I gotta go into it where she was at. Right. "But the mother," this verse 20, the mother was marvelous above all and worthy of honorable memory. All right. So you got some, testaments of honorable women. All right. And their memory, to be commemorated. "For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with good courage because of the hope or the expectation that she had in the Lord." And she exhorted every one of them in their own language, being Hebrew, filled with courage, a courageous spirit, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. She said unto them, a manly stomach, or a manly mind. Okay? So Black Ann, they said about her, having a greater spirit than it becoming a woman to be. All right? Just think of that.
Wouldn't her parents and her grandfather, Robert the Bruce, also be Swarthy? We already know this already from the book we read, Ancient and Modern Brigands, and all the sources we've gone over with the Pictish people, how they described as Swarthy, so-called Moors or Negroes or Black, That's how we got them in history. So this is just more corroboration on that. This is a historical person. All right, Ans. They call her here Black Ans, huh? Now check it out. AI says, based on the provided search results, the figures mentioned are interconnected through Scottish history, particularly during the Wars of Independence. What I searched for was Black Ans, Robert the Bruce, Thomas Randolph, right? So it says Black Agnes, or Agnes Randolph. That's her real name. It says Countess of Dunbar. All right? Remember, she's Black Ans because of her black skin. Known for the olive skin, she was the daughter of Thomas Randolph. You know, olives are black, right? First Earl of Moray. So what does that mean about her dad, right? She is famous for her heroic defense of Dunbar Castle in 1338 against English forces, okay? And her dad, again, was a nephew, combination in arms, and key supporter of Robert the Bruce, all right? The king of the pigs, chief of the pigs. That's what we're talking about.
Robert the Bruce, King of Scots, 1306 to 1329, who led Scotland to independence from England, most notably at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. I wish I could, go in my archive, and, pull something, of this particular, monument over there in Scotland that I've been to prior to being in the truth, I remember back then, I was exploring the fact of us being different from the other nations and things of that sort, but I didn't have complete understanding until I saw it from the anger of my mom, me being with a so-called white woman on the exterior, but was, I believe that the spirit was a Hebrew Israelite. When I was over there in Scotland and such, I seen a lot of Hebrew Israelites that looked so-called white or with speckled bird, and they embraced me, and they was hyped, the culture, and, melanated Jake go over there, you like, you're the man over there, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to see if I could see if I got it in my archive as such, if I could pull it, but I gotta probably go into like an external hard drive or something like that and probably pull that. Yeah, man. So I'm trying to think where that would be at this time. It would definitely be put away somewhere, but or will I bring it back? Yeah, let me see something, if I can see something. Like, it had to be in one of my archives. But I'm trying to think where I got all my archives are on, like, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I would have to. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's on this Google Drive, like, that I could see. Let me see something. Scotland's beautiful mountains. Let's see if I can put some there. Yeah, I would have to. Yeah, I had to look for it. So Slock, I was just trying in the spirit to bring something, show y'all something. Yeah, man, but that's that. So yeah, let me just get out of that. All right. So anyway, yeah, you just go into all that. Going back.
Swarthy people, black Europeans throughout history. We're back in the Kirkland files, and it says here.
So you can't just go always attribute like this whiteness to Europe. All right. Because you know, we are a people that ruled that place, all right, during the time of the Dark Ages and such. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that, man. So you know, hopefully you're edified by the lesson. You know, we got a whole snowstorm thing, and you know, pray that the Lord be, you know, with Jake, that you know have impacted by it here in America. May Yahweh Shema Shai B'Shem Kodesh Shamar. Bayath Nawa, our houses, Mashapaka Nawa, our families. All right. It'll be a Shabbat as well. Okay. A new week, too, the start of the week. All right. According to the new moon, you know, that passed last week. And we just continue to push on. All right, that's it. That's all we can do. Stay with prophecy and keep the sins of old, and you know, watch as the Lord move and such. So, you know, hopefully edified. You know, shalom to the elect. Call all you Yahweh Shem Ashai B'Shem Kodesh. Double line set up elder apostles and elder bishops. A great millstone. Peace, saints, elect. Shalom.